I've chased barn finds my whole life, but nothing prepared me for this. Hidden away in a dusty barn, covered in cobwebs and decades of neglect, was a 1989 Batmobile replica. It looked like it hadn't seen daylight since the Tim Burton era. I agreed on a price with the owner, but then something unexpected happened. He handed me back $500, telling me he hoped it would help. He seemed almost relieved to let the burden go. I think he knew just how much work this beast was going to take. We got it loaded onto the flatbed and hauled it back to the shop. It looks incredibly rough in the sunlight. Rust holes in the body, a fake turbine intake clogged with debris, and an interior that's completely disintegrated. We started tearing it down immediately, removing the hood panels and exposing the engine. The deeper we looked, the scarier it got. The alternator was a solid block of corrosion. We filled entire bins with rusted scrap metal just from the initial strip down. The dashboard was gutted, leaving just a skeleton of a cockpit. Underneath, the situation was critical. The exhaust system was hanging by a thread. Inspecting the suspension, the control arms were heavily corroded, and the frame rails had extensive rot around the mounting points. The ball joints were completely seized, causing the suspension to creak under pressure. The bushings were totally shot. We had to use impact hammers just to get the rusted wheels off. We pressure washed years of grime off the components and treated the salvageable cast iron parts with rust converter, turning that orange decay into a solid black protective layer. For the frame, we had to cut out the rot and weld in fresh steel patches to regain structural integrity. With the heavy fabrication work underway, we pressed out the old destroyed bushings and compared the old rusted control arms to our restored ones. The difference is night and day. We welded new steel plates into the floor and chassis to stiffen the ride. We also fabricated a custom exhaust system, welding new bends to fit the unique chassis layout. Finally, we could start bolting the suspension back together with fresh hardware. The chassis is finally starting to look like a car again. Now for the iconic look. We primed the body and block sanded it to perfection. You can't have a wavy Batmobile. We sprayed it with a deep, menacing black base coat, and then wet sanded and polished it until the finish looked like liquid glass. We reassembled the front bodywork, carefully tapping the panels into alignment. Underneath, the new dual exhaust system was installed, shining against the black chassis. We riveted the side intake panels onto the body and carefully lowered the massive canopy windshield into place. We bolted on the custom wheels and finally set the car on the ground. In the cockpit, we wired up the custom gauges and switches and installed the freshly upholstered seats. It's starting to feel like a real movie set prop. The finishing touches, the headlights, the Ferrari-style taillights, and of course, the bat emblem on the fender. Firing it up, the gauges danced to life. We took it out for its maiden voyage. Seeing those fins slicing through the air and hearing the engine roar down the street, we brought this legend back from the dead. It drives as good as it looks. Mission accomplished.